Although our history has been sanitized, come with me as we shine a black light in the home we call American history, showing the DNA that blacks have left on this country. It is June 23rd, and welcome to another day in Black Light History. I'm glad you're here. I'm your host, Big A. Let's get into it. The 452nd Anti-Aircraft Artillery Unit was a segregated all-black battalion during World War II. On this day in 1944, the unit would land at Normandy, France. The 452nd, along with the 761st Black Panther Tank Battalion, would fight in the Battle of the Bulge and the Battle of Bastogne. Prior to landing in Normandy, the unit helped defend London from German bomb raids. Happy 76th birthday to Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Born in a wooden shack in Penn Point, Georgia, his family were Gullah descendants, so English was Thomas's second language. His high school years were spent at a boarding school on the Isle of Hope. Thomas attended the College of the Holy Cross. While there, he would join the Jesuit Honor Society Alpha Sigma Nu. Thomas would graduate cum laude in 1971 with a Bachelor of Arts degree. Although accepted into most of the top Ivy League law schools, Thomas chose Yale Law School, where he was fellow students with John Bolton and Hillary Rodham. He would attain his Juris Doctorate in 1974. In 1981, Thomas was appointed the Assistant Secretary of Education for the Office of Civil Rights. He was quickly promoted to be the chairman of the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission, a position he held for 8 years. Under President George H.W. Bush, Thomas was given a judgeship on the United States Circuit Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia. He would serve on the court with future SCOTUS Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but it would only last for 19 months. Justice Thurgood Marshall was retiring from the Supreme Court, and President Bush chose Thomas to replace Marshall. I have and will continue trying to keep my personal feelings about the man out of this, and just state the facts of his biography. So I'll say that during his Senate confirmation hearing, Thomas faced credible and detailed sexual harassment allegations from his former assistant, Anita Hill. The NAACP did not endorse his appointment, but despite the highly public backlash, the Senate confirmed Thomas by a vote of 52 to 48. Thomas has spent the last 34 years on the bench as one of the most conservative judges on the court. Today we remember the life of Malcolm X's widow, Betty Shabazz. Born in Detroit, Shabazz had a desire to become a teacher. She left the North and enrolled at Tuskegee University. Life in Detroit prepared her for a lot in life, but it did not prepare her for the pure Alabama Southern racism. Shabazz changed her major from education to nursing, and she would move to New York and went to Brooklyn State College of Nursing. It was during her second year that she would convert to the Nation of Islam and met the minister Malcolm X. Although not a traditional courtship, the two dated, and in 1958 they got married on the same day she became a licensed nurse. Malcolm and Betty would have 6 daughters together. Disillusioned with the direction of the ministry and with Elijah Muhammad himself, Malcolm would leave the Nation of Islam in 1964. He would be assassinated less than a year later on February 21, 1965. As the country mourned, Betty Shabazz found help supporting her family. She received half the proceeds from the book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. Author Alex Haley, who helped X write the book, would hand over his portion once his own book, Roots, was published in 1976. Actress Ruby Dee and Sidney Poitier's wife Juanita helped raise money and would purchase a home for Shabazz in Mount Vernon, New York. Shabazz would become close friends with Myrlie Evers and Coretta Scott King, 2 women who also lost their husbands by assassination. The women would talk often and would take vacations together. Shabazz would enroll in Jersey City State College and earn a degree in education. She would also go on to obtain a master's degree in health administration. Shabazz would join the alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and in 1975 would defend her dissertation and earn her doctorate in higher education and administration from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She would become an associate professor at Medgar Evers College in 1976. Betty Shabazz became a victim of a house fire set by her grandson Malcolm, and 80% of her body was burned. She would succumb to her injuries on this date in 1997 at age 63. Today we also remember the life of blues singer Bobby Blue Bland. Born in Tennessee in 1930, Bland would make his first recording with Ike Turner in 1951. Although illiterate, Bland was blessed with a soulful voice. While touring the Chitlin circuit, he would have a string of #1 R&B hits, beginning in 1957 with the single Farther Up the Road. Bland's single I Pity the Fool would top the chart in 1961, and although it did not reach #1, the song Turn On Your Love Light would be inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. 1963's That's the Way Love Is would be the singer's last #1 single. During the 70s and 80s, Bland would often tour with fellow blues legend B.B. King. They would even release a top 20 single, Let the Good Times Roll, in 1976. Bland has received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award and a Rhythm and Blues Pioneer Award. He has been inducted into the Rhythm and Blues, Rock and Roll, and Blues Halls of Fame. Bland suffered from an ongoing illness and would pass on this date in 2013 at the age of 83. Most people, when they think of lynching, they think of the South. They think of the nooses and trees, and that when it was done, it was the work of a few and not many. Well, today I bring you one that is a little hard to take in, but the story of George White, a farmer in the state of Delaware, needs to be told and remembered. White would be accused of the death of an 18-year-old Helen Bishop. Although he did not fight the arrest, White would deny the charges. He was taken to a building called the workhouse. On this date in 1903, a group of several hundred men and boys broke into the workhouse and stole the 24-year-old White and took him to the spot of Bishop's murder. There, some 4,000 people watched as he was tied to a stake and had straw placed around his feet. The fire was lit, and White repeatedly broke free of the ties and jumped out of the fire. On his third attempt, a mob member hit him over the head with some fencing, then cut off his right foot and pushed him back into the flames. It was reported that people would fire their revolvers into the burning ashes. Once the fire had died out, the mob began taking souvenirs from the burned pile of his remains. His foot and skull were at one time displayed in a local store window. The town of Wilmington had 2 newspapers, and neither one published the names of the people responsible for White's murder. No one was ever charged with the crime. On this day in 1979, R&B legend Teddy Pendergrass will release his classic bedroom ballad, Turn Off the Lights. Peaking at #2 on the R&B charts, the song stands the test of time as being one of the greatest mood music songs of all time. Happy 45th birthday to Pro Football Hall of Fame running back LaDainian Tomlinson. Born in Rosebud, Texas, Tomlinson would play college football for Texas Christian University. As a Horned Frog, Tomlinson was a 2-time Western Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year and All-American. His senior year, he would take home the Doak Walker Award and the Jim Brown Trophy. TCU has retired his number 5 jersey, and Tomlinson was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Drafted by the San Diego Chargers in 2001, Tomlinson would play 11 NFL seasons. A 5-time All-Pro, he would lead the league in rushing yards twice and would lead the league 3 times in rushing touchdowns. In 2006, Tomlinson would lead the NFL in scoring and would be named the league's Offensive Player of the Year, League MVP, and the Walter Payton Man of the Year, along with being given the Burt Bell Award. In 2008, he was given the Bart Starr Award. Tomlinson holds several NFL records, including the most rushing touchdowns in a season with 28. With over 18,000 combined rushing and receiving yards and 162 touchdowns, Tomlinson was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2017. Born on this day in 1940 was track and field sensation Wilma Rudolph. Overcoming polio as a child, Rudolph would become a world-class sprinter, specializing in the 100-meter and 200-meter events. As a 16-year-old junior at Burt High School in Tennessee, Rudolph would qualify in the 200-meter dash for the 1956 Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. She would win a bronze medal as a third leg in the 4x100 relay. Rudolph would attend college running for the Tiger Bells of Tennessee State University. At TSU, she would join Delta Sigma Theta sorority and graduate with a bachelor's in education. Just a sophomore at TSU in 1960, Rudolph would set a world record in the 200-meter dash at the U.S. Olympic trials. She would also qualify for the 100-meter dash. At the Games, Rudolph won gold medals in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 4x100-meter relay, making her the first American female to win 3 gold medals at a single Olympiad. The Rome Olympics were the first worldwide telecast of the Games. Along with Oscar Robinson, Cassius Clay, and Rayford Johnson, Rudolph became an international star. After retiring from the sport, Rudolph became a teacher and coach. In 1994, she was diagnosed with brain cancer and would pass just 5 months later, leaving us on November 12th. Rudolph was a UPI's 1960 Athlete of the Year, a 2-time AP Woman Athlete of the Year, and won the James E. Sullivan Award. She has been inducted into the Black Sports, National Women's, U.S. National Track and Field, and U.S. Olympic Halls of Fame. Her influence on the American consciousness was honored in 2004 when the United States Postal Service issued a stamp in her likeness. Wilma Rudolph was only 54 years old when she passed. On this day in 1965, the Motown group The Miracles released the single Tracks of My Tears, written by the Miracles themselves, Smokey Robinson, Pete Moore, and Marv Tarplin. The song would peak at number 2 in the R&B charts and number 16 on the Hot 100. The song has been covered numerous times over the years, but the original recording has been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, is on Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list, and the Library of Congress has preserved it in the National Recording Registry. On this day in 1984, St. Louis Cardinals center fielder Willie E.T. McGee hit the elusive cycle in an 11-12 11-inning loss to the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. McGee would bat 4 for 6, scoring 3 runs while driving in 6. And that concludes today's events. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. And remember, powers try to erase our history, but today can be the day that you achieve something that we can discuss next year on Black Light History.